You're listening to The Metal Lens. Life, the universe, and everything from a metal point of view.
And we're back.
Here we go, everybody. Hi.
For the first time in 2020.
Yes, Happy New Year.
And all that
Happy New
jazz.
And all that bum diddly. So, Happy New Year. It's been 2 weeks since we've been here, and it is now 2020. Hey, helpful hint, when you're writing out your year, go ahead and write out the whole thing to 2020, because if you just put 20, somebody can go in and then stick on a couple of erroneous numbers at the end, like 19 or 18 or 1.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
I didn't think about that either. As a matter of fact, this was brought up to me as I was signing paperwork off when I buy a new car.
Oh, yeah.
We bought a new car because our old car finally crapped out, or just the repairs was
Which was one on The Price is Right
kind of exceeded.
with Drew Carey.
Yeah, that's right. All I had to do was, get up on national television and behave like a male cheerleader. But yeah, whatever. Sometimes it's just not worth dumping money into anymore. And our old hoopty just wasn't worth dumping money into it. So now, out with the old, in with the new, very appropriate and consistent with the whole idea of it being a new year. So today is January 3rd. Welcome to the to the second. Actually, I guess it would be the third decade of the new millennium, wouldn't it be? Because the first decade would have been 0 to 9.
Yeah.
And then it would have been 10 to 19, and now here we are.
Ooh, the third decade of a new millennium. That sounds like a Dark Throne lyric or something.
Yeah, I was just thinking it kind of sounds like a Killing Joke album or something, but it does sound a good feel to it. The third decade of a new millennium.
Yeah, we had a little party over here.
Yep.
It was all right. Shot the shit out of some fireworks.
Yep.
Drank a lot of fucking alcohol.
Shot the shit out of some booze too. Yeah. It's all good.
That was fucking drunkipated.
Oh well, what a way to ring in the new year.
Yeah.
Hey, next time we're gonna, like I mentioned earlier. I mentioned a few days ago. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in for some fireworks. We're gonna try to actually destroy something next year.
Yeah, we had like 1,500 Saturn missiles, and I think we might go for like 15,000.
There you go.
Well, we kind of got excited because it was actually a clear night.
Oh yeah,
Which we normally never have for New Year's. It's always foggy and drizzly and cold and just shitty.
Yeah, and it was actually relatively temperate too.
Well, it wasn't shitty.
Yeah. I only had one hat on, so yeah, and no gloves. It was cool, but not too cold. So welcome to the third decade of the new millennium. I hope everybody's got some. All right. It's got a poetic, a little bit of snap to it. And also, I'm getting over a cold that lasted all goddamn winter break, and so if I sound particularly funky and coughing periodically, that's why. For example,
Like that.
just like this. So, as we enter a period of renewal and new beginnings.
Do you have any what the fuck do they call them? Resolutions?
I never got into the habit of, I never really upheld the tradition of doing New Year's resolutions. They just kind of seem kind of cheesy.
Yeah, me either. I mean, it was kind of funny today because I seen one of the guys at work, and he's a rather smelly fella.
All right.
And like smelly, like BO, like not like it was a hot day and you sweat today. I'm like, okay, I get it. It's every day.
Yeah, all right.
And he works inside and doesn't do much. So I'm like, hey, buddy, got any resolutions this coming year? He's like, nah, not really. I said, don't think of anything you could do different? Nah, I'm too lazy. Gotcha.
Well, there you go. I think that kind of tied some loose ends there just now.
Yeah.
Starting to understand this fella in a whole new way. So yeah, whatever. I mean, we don't really have a theme or any particular like topic. At least I don't. I got a little bit of news.
And I couldn't find shit in the news.
I got like basically I've got 4 stories.
Oh, there's like an
the past 4
asteroid
years.
that's gonna buzz by us pretty soon.
Buzz by.
It's like not that big. It's like the size of a city bus.
Yeah. Jeez.
But there is like this cool. I got to figure out how it works. It's called the sky. Not the night sky. Is it the night sky? It's a website that is pretty comprehensive if you know kind of what you're doing with that stuff.
It's like a mapping kind of thing, or
Yeah, and it tracks everything, and it gives you the coordinates, and you get in your $12,000 telescopes and look at it. And my internet isn't working, so
I think I have an app that was that.
yeah.
But
This isn't an app though. This is an actual website, and it seemed pretty legit, like scientific. Like it was really good. I think it's called the Night Sky. And it'll track any kind of event that's going on. It'll tell you where Venus is at any point in time in relation to where you are on the Earth. And
okay.
It'll track all the planets and all the orbits, and it'll actually give you a live 3D imaging of the orbits of all the planets.
Nice.
Like in real time. And it's pretty comprehensive. It's something that definitely you gotta sit there and kind of digest. It's pretty good though.
Yeah, once you start playing with all the parameters and
It's
start,
it's pretty comprehensive.
zooming in or zooming out, actually.
Yeah, you can track all kinds of shit.
Get the totality of things. Well, that's cool, and I would imagine it's updated with like shit that NASA is paying attention to.
But other than that, I don't have shit.
All right, well,
I got nothing. I got ass and face, bro. And a beer.
Hey. So there's one resolution that I I didn't take.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and review the 4 news stories that I've managed to collect. Okay. We'll start with this one. By the way, 3 out of the 4 are basically new album announcements, new material announcements, at least. So, so listen to new Carcass song, "Under the Scalpel Blade."
Surgical Steel, or was it?
Yeah.
Is that the album?
That's Oh, here we go. Yeah. British extreme metal pioneers Carcass have released a new digital single, "Under the Scalpel Blade." The disc will be a follow-up. Actually, okay, Surgical Steel came out in 2013, so that was their previous. And unless it's titled "Under the Scalpel Blade," I don't think we have a name for the new record, which is going to come out this year.
Just like a single or something they're releasing?
Yeah, it's a single off their 7th studio album, which is due out in 2020, Nuclear Blast. But no real indication, at least none that I'm going to glean from glancing through this. I'm not going to read this whole thing. Anyway, whatever. Carcass has got a new album coming out, so I listened to the track. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's kind of like a little bit of a departure from Necroticism.
Yeah, is that the one with all the gore shit on it?
That is the one with, they've got their faces on 4 little panels on the front.
No,
and no, that's the one that has like Corporal Jigsaw Quandary and You're probably thinking of the one with like the whole collage of gore stuff.
That's the one.
That's oh gosh, that's either Reek of Putrefaction or something having to do with guts. I can't quite remember.
Yeah, our brains aren't working too well in this new year. We had a rough New Year's.
Yeah,
so that's the album that I like.
That's the one that you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Okay. And so since then they had Necroticism, Descanting the Insalubrious or something like that, and then they had Heartwork after that. Yeah, and Necroticism is probably my favorite album. But this song, it sounded okay, and I'd be interested to see how that comes across in the context of the rest of what they decide to put out. I never really got into Swan Song. I heard it once and just kind of I put it down.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that came after Heartwork.
Yeah, it sure did.
It was a little too different.
It was kind of when we were kind of, I guess, gravitating away from that.
I remember listening to it. And it was almost a little too
polished.
I
Not really polished.
I don't know. Maybe a little bit too minimalistic.
Yeah.
To the kind of shit that they were putting out prior. Now, mind you, this was at my God, what was it? It wasn't Tower Records. What was that place out in Metairie? It was a Blockbuster. It might have been Blockbuster Records. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Up on Vets, there's like a Barnes and Noble there now, or just actually there's a car dealership where this record store used to be.
I remember where Tower Records was. I don't remember a place in Metairie though.
Man, I can't remember the name of the place.
There wasn't a Tower Records too.
Was it a Tower Records? I don't know. I can't. I
think it was a Tower Records too.
I can't even remember. Tower Records on Decatur is what you're thinking of, right? And I don't know. Well. File that under Ain't There No More, because it ain't there no more. But whatever. That's where I heard Swan Song for the first time, and I was just... So we're talking like late 90s.
No, yeah, it was late
like
90s.
That. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. So would they be cool to hear some new Carcass, And it's actually kind of cool that those guys are still doing what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Jesus. I mean, they've been doing this shit since, late 80s, I guess. Huh?
Right.
And still holding strong. Speaking of the late 80s.
Oh, boy.
So some dude, here's the headline. Metallica's Enter Sandman re-recorded to sound like And Justice for All. And Troy, I just let you listen to this. It's on YouTube.
It's enjoyable.
Okay, yeah. I'll go ahead and read. This is kind of funny, the way it's written. Metallica's stylistic jump from And Justice for All, 1988, to Metallica, 1991, a.k.a. the Black Album, is still a hotly debated topic in the metal world nearly 30 years later. What would have become of Metallica if they had stuck with their thrashy roots instead of upping the production and slowing down the tempos? Some internet whippersnapper endeavored to take a guess, re-recording Enter Sandman from scratch with a completely different arrangement and production style and using Hetfield's original vocal tracks. Some dude.
So it's like it's not Enter Sandman. I mean, it is, but it's done in the style of had it been written for And Justice for All.
A lot of percussive staccato guitar work.
A lot of those things in it. Yeah, a lot of that.
And I got to give it up to whoever did this. Either they did some sort of like high tech, like audio analysis.
Yeah, I don't know.
Software. Or something
it sounds
like that.
really good.
Or they did a good job of trying to actually reproduce the drums, the production. The basic production and the sounds of everything. So whatever. I might include a link or something below. But, just...
For all you loyal listeners.
Exactly. For those of you who are basically thought that they peaked at And Justice for All, which I agree with. It's kind of neat to sort of like say, what if? Because, people ask that about Metallica all the time. Or at least we have been. What if Cliff had lived?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like all this speculative...
Well, he wouldn't have stood for any of this shit, I tell you what.
No, he wouldn't tolerate this baloney.
Who knows what the fuck he would have did,
Well, isn't there some evidence that that Cliff helped write some of the material, at least, from Justice?
Oh, sure.
Okay. I mean, I know he did the lyric, that line in To Live Is
To Die.
Yeah. But as far as the music goes, I don't know. I think he would have fit in fine with that album. But with the Black Album, I think it would have just been bored. And it would have been different, too. You know what I mean? He would have made different decisions and stuff like that, you know? It just... Yeah. Moving right along, Cannibal Corpse is preparing to begin work on a new album.
I did hear this. Would be like their 15th or 17th or something.
Let's see. It will be the follow-up to 2017's Red Before Black.
Yeah.
Let's see if this if this article identifies the number. I don't know. It just says Cannibal Corpse are preparing to enter the studio.
I remember seeing this. It's like number 15 or 17.
I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised at all. No, it doesn't have a track or a disco count. Yeah, sorry. I'm afraid I just don't have that information at the time.
Yeah, I've been on YouTube. They get this guy and he does covers of like Cannibal Corpse songs, and dude's really good. And, the bass is really accentuated, and because listen to him play it, and but that fucking Alex Webster's something else.
Oh God, yeah. So wait, this is a bass player who's doing the cover.
Yeah.
And what is he doing? Taking out the tracks? They were, they're
like most of them, he's just playing over it. Mm-hmm. But you can tell it's he's playing way over it.
It's jumping out of the mix or whatever. Yeah. So that's exciting, man. Yeah, we're both fans of Cannibal Corpse. Mm-hmm. Fans of Carcass. So it's actually kind of cool to see some of our older bands. Yeah, and like the thing, shit. like I don't know what this new Carcass thing is, but Cannibal Corpse is still doing the same shit they were doing. It's still the same shit. Just putting out some heavy, thick, heavy stuff. Dude, I mean, and it's not always it's brutal and fast either.
And it's still kind of got its little quirky shits about it that Cannibal Corpse is known to throw into some of their songs every here and there.
Yeah.
So they're still doing their thing.
I don't know what is it about what they do. There's a feel rather than an actual sound.
Right.
That's been fairly consistent. It's almost a spirit that they... I don't know. I mean, obviously their sound has changed over the years.
But as heavy and brutal as it is, it's still kind of get this groove to it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not always, heavy. I mean, there's plenty of that.
The Cannibal Corpse beat.
Yeah, exactly. But man, they. I don't know. But I guess it is a groove. You know what I mean? And not like a rock and roll kind of groove either.
No.
It's sort of like a mid-paced. Sometimes it's a very churning kind of thing.
Yeah.
But just the kind of, it's the kind of thing that makes your hair go like this.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of 6/8 time signatures and stuff like that. Maybe this, a little bit of that, a little bit of the swirl. Yeah, the frozen yogurt swirl.
Yeah, I still couldn't understand how they did that.
Oh, dude! Well, you've seen Corpse Grinder. His head and his neck is pretty much a trapezoid.
His neck is as wide as my waist.
Looks like a fucking NFL player. That dude. All right, so cool. We've got some new Cannibal Corpse coming out. This, I just saved. And Troy, I don't know if you remember these guys, Macabre.
Of course.
They got new shit coming out.
Really?
Dude. So I'm going to go ahead and read this because, I don't know, in my mind, this is pretty monumental. Nuclear Blast has welcomed back Macabre after over 2 decades since the last time the two entities worked together. Yeah. the Chicago Legends of Murder Metal, Death Metal, whatever, Murder Metal, have come back and recharged. Have come back recharged with the Premier Metal label, and are making their entire discography available now with the prospect of a new album in 2020. Yeah, these guys have been at it for, according to this, since 1985. And
Really?
it's the original lineup. Corporate Death, guitars and vocals, Nefarious, bass and vocals, and Dennis the Menace on drums. I don't know what their real names are. But I mean, Macabre, man. You know, if you don't know who Macabre is, they're kind of how do you describe Macabre? Jesus.
What's that smell?
Yeah.
Someone died.
So, yeah,
Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment of hell.
So they got at least two guys contributing the vocals. One of them's got like a really nice, you know, kind of growl to it. The other one just kind of, what is he doing with his voice? Just this high pitched, squealy kind of thing, and it is kind of disturbing in the mix of it because pretty much all their lyrical content is about like a different serial killer. So you just mentioned like there's Jeffrey Dahmer. John Wayne Gacy.
And that particular album, it was all serial killer.
Every song that they did, as far as I know. But yeah, that's the one. Oh, what is the name of that CD? Oh God, what is it called? It might be Murder Metal, actually. It's one that's got like the they did their like sort of like their parody of like Sgt. Pepper, the cover of Sgt. Pepper.
I don't remember the name.
I don't remember the name of it. It's got them like dressed up like a couple, well, like three rednecks, you know, with like the flapper hunter ears and hat and over the flaps over the ears and the red onesie with the little thing in the back. Very, very tongue in cheek, very humorous, very dark humorous, I guess. But I'm completely overlooking the fact that they're
Sinister Slaughter.
Thank you, Sinister Slaughter. The musicianship of which is just excellent. I mean, those guys can fucking play. Like every single one of them is an outstanding musician. Just this trio, just kind of getting up there and just doing these goofy, tongue-in-cheek songs, but played extraordinarily well. I mean, like really tasteful solos, very complex guitar work, bass work that does not leave you bored at all. And then the drum, oh my God, that drummer. Double bassing.
Yeah, and that album particularly, Sinister Slaughter, was really good. Mm-hmm. It was good. We all had it. We all knew it.
Oh God!
Wow! So they're putting out a new one.
They got some new shit coming out.
Crazy.
I can't. You know, and Sinister Slaughter. It had. I mean, this was. See if I could find the when the time.
I'm going to make a drink. You
Go for it. Actually, yeah. I'm afraid I'm going to have to accept a drink. You don't have to happen to have the year that come out, huh?
Oh, no, I just had it.
You just had it? All right, no worries. Yeah, I mean, dude, that...
It had to be 96?
Maybe. Dude, probably more earlier than that. Shit. Yeah, I would say early 90s. Yeah, I don't have a date here. But fact of the matter is, I mean, the production was, you know, of the time. You know, I mean, I think death metal at the time. That's the kind of interesting thing, though. It's what a lot of these engineers wound up doing.
Well, it was one of those albums
with this music.
Came out, we're all like, dude, you got to hear this.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it was nuts. Do you remember hearing that for the first time? You're like, what the fuck is that dude doing in the background? Like squealing like a pig. Well, this other dude's like doing these guttural growls. And the music was just about dun 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 dun. Like, what the fuck is that? And then you're like, this is ridiculous. You're making a joke out of it. And then, you know, like an hour later, you're driving to work. Dun 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 dun. You know what I mean? And it sticks to you, you know, and it kind of it keeps with you. But the fucking metal shit was really good. But like I was saying about, you know, about the production, dude, I mean, it's funny to think about like some of those guys. So you remember when we recorded at the Living Room Studio, Rat in a Bucket? Dude, Chris, like, kind of didn't know what the hell to do with it. You know what I mean? And I wasn't to say like, oh, it had to do with us, but I mean, I think that was like one of his first experiences, if not his first experience, recording like really heavy, intense stuff like that. You know, which I mean, kind of presents. I mean, you're not like a jazz trio. You know, all you have to do is just get a good, nice room sound, and you're good. Gracias, mi amigo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to worry. The room sounds good, so the recording sounds good. No, if you get the room sound, it's going to sound like fucking... it's going to sound like a heartbeat farting into a microphone. It's going to sound ridiculous.
Yeah, he didn't really know what to do
with
heavy shit like that. But, yeah, I mean, Macabre was awesome.
Oh, yeah. And they did what they could and what was available to them with you know, I guess whatever the resources and all that was available to them. Because I got to give it up to Morrisound, dude, and Scott Burns. Because I mean, they like he. It almost seems like, now this is an interpretation, but just as you listen to CDs or just the different recordings that went on from the early '90s up into the mid to late '90s, you know, production value, production quality went up. You know, but you have I interpret that as like they were just trying to figure out what the fuck you're supposed to do with this stuff and how you're actually supposed to capture this stuff on tape, how you're supposed to get this stuff, you know, faithfully translated.
Well, I think the biggest problem with a lot of that was, you know, the bane of my existence was fucking guitar players, because the guitars were so heavy and thick. Mm-hmm. You know, and then you had bass player and you had kick drums and things that were just not cutting through the mix anymore.
Yeah.
Because of this unbelievably heavy, thick guitar sounds.
And let me add on to that the scoop.
Yeah.
That I'm absolutely guilty of scooping the fuck out of my guitars unnecessarily. Which of course I know now, you know, why that was a problem. But, you know, at the time I just wanted to, it sounds good on the CD. It should sound good, you know. No.
Yeah, so, you know, and I think that's what led to the kick drum click.
Oh, yeah, so you can actually hear the...
So you can hear it. And
give definition
the bass got real ingy, and because that's the only thing that would cut through. Mm-hmm. Ingy and clacky.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think, you know, probably Morrisound probably got it the best, and they pretty much set the standard. Mm-hmm. But, you know, a big problem with a lot of them was I don't think they really knew what to do with the vocals either.
See, that's
because it was pretty much just, okay, whatever you do in the microphone is what you do, I guess. Mm-hmm. And they didn't know exactly where to place it in a mix. And they treated it like pop music. Uh-huh. I believe, where they were
way up front.
They were really out in front, and of course they've gotten much better at it now. They got it right now, but at the time it was way out in front, and I didn't think that really sounded that great.
Yeah,
and I think they got it. You know, of course they got it now,
but you know, that's the thing about metal at that time, man. It was just so. Particularly death metal, you know. I mean, I think other kinds of metal.
Because that was a big explosion of it, you know.
Yeah.
And all of these bands are coming out everywhere, and you know, it's like either you went to Morrisound or you kind of got a shitty recording,
or whatever they might have been doing out in Europe at the time.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you got that British sound. You know, but that doesn't really translate to... if you try to do the same thing, you're going to run into the same problem ultimately.
Yeah.
It's the vocals.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do? Okay, let's do like an Iron Maiden production.
Right.
And then... Oh, fuck. what are we going to do with this dude? Then you wind up, then you wind up with like At the Gates, kind of, you know what I mean? Like sort of what wind up with, not that I'm knocking their production, but there was, you just wind up with this dirtiness that I think was kind of like an unintended consequence. And in retrospect, like trying to think of, okay, like take Sinister Slaughter, for example. I don't know what this 2020 album is going to sound like. I hope it sounds really great. I hope it sounds really nice and clear. That would be really cool to hear, you know, because I think those guys, those musicians with their musicianship deserve a nice audible production, you know. But I can't imagine Sinister Slaughter with like a fucking whatever, a fucking a pop, you know, kind of production.
Right.
Because it would be kind of weird. But that's after the fact, having heard it, having listened to it for 20 whatever years.
Yeah, and I think ultimately what I think really happened is, I mean, I think the artists kind of gained more control of when more artists knew, and especially I think metal artists know more about recording and stuff because it was underground for so long.
Yeah,
we did a lot of this shit ourselves. I'm still doing it myself today.
Right.
So like, so where, you know, it's like maybe a pop group goes in, they just go in and, okay, what do you want me to do? Okay, and they do it. Where, you know, a metal band would go in there and be like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and nah, dude, those guitars are not. Nah, that needs to be this, and man, I want it. We wouldn't know how to do it from an engineering aspect, but they knew what they wanted, and they knew, you know, and through translation, through artists to engineers, got where metal production is today, I think.
Yeah.
Just my take on it. I could be completely wrong.
Well, I'm going to throw this out there, too, is, like, what if... I can't put myself into the mentality of other artists and what they kind of thought of at the time. But, you know, what if they wanted to be relatively lo-fi? I mean, we've talked about other bands doing that very, very deliberately. Dark Throne is the first example.
Sure.
You know, they I want this to sound like it comes out of a transistor radio. Okay. Fine, man. That sounds really deep and cold. And it's like, that's perfect. You know, that makes sense, right?
My grandmother's transistor radio.
Over which she used to listen to commentaries of World War II. But if you listen to, let me think of a good example. If you listen to like the old Mantis demo, or just Scream Bloody Gore, Death, Scream Bloody Gore, all right, and relatively dirty production,
shitty, really crappy,
just noisy and stuff. Compare that to like Symbolic,
and a lot of people really love that album, and a lot of people think it was one of the better albums. Had the production had been better, it may have been.
It might have been. You certainly would have heard more nuance of what was going on, you know. But at the time, what
was that, like 86? 88?
Maybe 88. I don't know. Yeah, whatever. Like you said, we're fucked up. But the point is, though, at the time, okay, I can very easily see a band like Napalm Death or Extreme Noise Terror be like, you know what? What? Fuck no. We don't want you to go. No, turn that compressor way the fuck up. We want it to sound like.
Right.
You know, because fuck music, fuck pop, fuck clear production.
Because fuck you, that's why.
It's fuck you, that's why. Exactly. It was a. I bite my thumb at the mainstream.
I smite my thumb at
the mainstream production aesthetic or whatever. So I mean, it could be that a lot of bands didn't really care that much, or maybe even very deliberate about sounding really raw and sounding dirty. And I'm going to venture to guess that a lot of punk bands were extremely obvious in making that
Yeah.
point come across. As far as some of the death metal bands, I don't know. You know, you're kind of like teetering on this edge.
I think a lot of them there was a technicality that they wanted to see through, and you know,
you can. I guess you can kind of take it on a band by band basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
You know, like Cannibal Corpse, would their sound benefit from a tighter, cleaner production? Probably, dude, because they did a lot of fast guitar work and a lot of tight stuff that if it got too if it got too muddy together, it would be very sloppy.
It may
sound.
be, you know, just music in general as a whole, because I mean, I just think there's a lot more artists, not just saying metal artists, but know exactly what they want, and you know, and know a little bit more of how to get it. You know, okay, I'm gonna sing this verse. I'm gonna go in the bathroom and put the mic in the hallway, and I want to sing this verse because that's what I want.
Okay, yeah.
You know, and not so much as far as, like, say, producers really having that much huge say in what you sound like. You know, because, I mean, that's more for, like, you know, fucking Backstreet Boys and shit like that, where the record company puts together a band. I'm like, hey, we want a band like this because we think it'll sell. Okay, Joey, you're a producer. You go find them and you put them in the studio and make them sound hot. Okay. You know. So, you know, and plus, yeah, like I said, a lot of, even indie fucking hip-hop guys or whatever, they know how to record. And, I mean, they don't have the $1 million of equipment that these guys have, but they know how it works, and they know what they need and what they want in a sound and how to, for the most part, get it without even having a recording engineer or producer in the background.
And these are guys, though. These are bands. Like
so eventually you're going to get better results that way.
You're going to get better results. But if you take, like, say, early hip-hop, where they were basically playing through PAs, because they didn't have a Marshall fucking scratching edition or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, like, say, an indie band, where you're pretty, you know, you're playing through... you're playing through like plexis, or you're playing through like you know, boutique amps or Fenders or, you know, whatever. Okay, you're recording Thurston Moore play through like a single 12 or 10 inch like, you know, combo amp. You know, hey, let's get Morbid Angel over. What are you guys playing through? Well, I got like, you know, I got my like Dan Electro plugged into you know, like a little Fender Tweed. It's like no, fucking Trey Azathoth is plugging his BC Rich into a fucking full stack. And he's like, well, that's what I got, and that's the sound I like. So go ahead and see what you can do with that. You know what I mean?
And if you don't get it right on your end, I'm going to let you know, and you're going to have to try something different. That's not it.
So I guess
So then you end up with a fucking recording engineer with 24 mics in front of a fucking full stack. Going, is it this one? No. This one? No. This one? No. This one?
Dude, okay, so let's go back to Carcass, all right? So at least on Heartwork, I read an interview on whatever, it was like Guitar Player magazine or something like that. It was years ago, about like how they achieved the guitar sound, Bill Steer's guitar sound on that album. And at the time, for me, I was like, "What? That's fucking crazy," you know. But I mean, now in today's age of like reamping and or just like complex studio situations, not that crazy. But I can't remember the full details. But the dude was playing through multiple Marshalls at once, or multiple tracks assigned to each. Okay, so like one track was him going through, I don't know, let's just say an 800 or something, right? Or is that what the 900 the
JCMs.
JCM 900. Okay, so like one track was him running through that. One track was him going through like one of those little micro stacks, those Marshall micro stacks. One track was him, perhaps going direct through a preamp. So that's about, I'm gonna guess maybe 10, maybe a dozen different tracks of just his guitar kind of split, or maybe, re-recording through, different setups. Point is, like, different things going on, completely different setups, practically, mixed in, and that's the guitar sound. That's the mosquito. That's the sound that you're hearing when you listen to that album.
Yeah, and
Artwork,
right? we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
And, when you go into the studio, it's like, well, that's not what I sound like live. Well, you sound different in every place you play in, so you don't really know what you really sound like live. Let's just, and that's when a producer comes in, like, look, let's just kill the shit, all right? You got good songs. We like what y'all doing. Just start from fucking scratch. What do you want to fucking sound like? Not what you have sounded like or what you thought you sounded like. What do you want this album to... What do you want your guitar to sound like on this album? And we'll see what we can do to make that fucking happen.
So I would venture to guess that when Macabre got together and recorded Sinister Slaughter, they probably said, we don't know. We've never done this before.
Or they had something very specific in mind.
It makes me wonder, though. I mean, it makes me wonder, like, do some of these, like, earlier Death bands, do they go in there saying, we want to sound like... Okay, so compare them to, like, what some of their predecessors might have been. Okay, so, So Chuck and Death, okay, and I'm trying to think of like some really early metal acts, like death metal acts, like the folks from like Possessed and the folks from like not Voivod, Venom. Okay, they probably didn't go in there saying like, okay, yeah, let's kind of go with a fucking Iron Maiden vibe.
Probably not.
So I'm wondering, like, what was their comparison? Because if you listen to black metal from Venom, like, it's got this eerie, dark, heavy, not really quite Black Sabbath,
And it may or may not have, but I mean, even if you do have a predetermined notion on what you want, or you don't, either way, you go to playback and you're like,
So you tweak it after the fact.
Sure.
Is what you're saying. Okay, gotcha.
Sure, and then you go, okay, it's like it needs to be just thicker or this or that. And then the engineer might say, well, okay, let's reamp it 800 fucking times. How about that? Oh, that sounds pretty good.
All right.
And, that would have been with the Carcass thing. It's like, no, we want something cleaner. We want something like this. And, and that's the translation and what happens with a producer and a recording engineer and the artist and all that stuff.
So,
but ultimately, it's pretty much the artist's say for this type of stuff. Now, like I said, like a fucking pop thing, it's going to be a kind of generalized sound. And, like the Backstreet Boys don't go into a studio saying, okay, well, we want to sound like this. They're like, no, sweet cheeks. You just get there. We got this.
There's very little aesthetic not value.
But for artists like what we're talking about, they have the final say, and they know what they want or what they're happy with, and as long as they get a good relationship, and most producers and recording engineers are really good about having a relationship with their artists because they know that's important to have a good product.
Yeah.
So,
I would say the vast majority of like pop artists really don't give a shit.
Right.
They're handing it totally over to their producers.
Sure.
Although there are certain people like okay, so guys like Prince and Michael Jackson who know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, I don't think you're really telling Prince on what he needs to sound like.
No. I think I think those guys. But you're right though. But guys like, okay. So I was going to say, Carcass Heartwork came out around 94, 95, I think. By that time, okay. So think about it. At that point, I'm trying to think of some examples. Deicide self-titled has already been released. 95. Arise. Sepultura Arise has already come out, right? At that point, I think they not only have an understanding of like what the potential of what they could sound like as a band, any band, any band that does extreme metal. Has an understanding of like what they could sound like, because Arise I think came out in 93, right?
Yeah.
At that point, they can. I think they have the clout, and I think they've got the financial backing to kind of fuck around and be more experimental,
Sure.
like that. And so it's kind of funny because like we're talking about like within the span of like less than 10 years, a whole generation of artists kind of make this shift. Where a number of them are kind of coming from a place where like we're just trying to like get this thing out, and I don't know how to describe it or either get it out of my head and into a microphone and onto tape because it's never really been done before, and or a collection of people who are like we just kind of don't care because we're just winging it at this point. Transitioning to a point where like, I can see where this is kind of going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's an interesting example because we talked about them kind of recently. Obituary. Mm-hmm. This is the band that went from really raw sounding, not even having lyrics to their vocals. I think like during their demo and maybe during Slowly We Rot, John Tardy didn't have any lyrics to his vocals. By the time he did Cause and Death and certainly by The Incomplete, he had lyrics. But the transition over just a span of like maybe 4 years where they had a very, very raw, very dirty sound to a very nicely well-produced The Incomplete.
Well, yeah, and now, so right, so that's a good example. So you gotta fucking imagine that when they went into the studio for The Incomplete, John Tardy was pretty fucking, he was pretty, he probably had a really good idea on what he wanted this shit to sound like.
Yeah.
Because it's very distinct.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, because I mean, like for us on a local level, down here in the dregs, if you will.
Yep.
We don't have that. When we go to a studio, we don't have that luxury. When we go in there, it's like time is fucking money.
Yeah.
And it's our fucking money that we don't have a whole lot of.
Right.
So it's like you don't have this unlimited amount of time to get the shit exactly the way you fucking want it. Mm-hmm. And if you going into the studio expecting that, you're going to be disappointed. And like we've all been. Mm-hmm. We've all been, it's like, well, you don't have that time to do that. Okay, when Metallica goes in the studio, they don't even have fucking songs fucking written. Okay, they write them all there, and they fucking hammer it out, and they in this big fucking room with all these different guitars and amps and shit, and they're fucking around, and they're playing around with this, and they drop it on that drum set, and they picking up this guitar and that fucking amp, and like, oh, no, that's kind of cool, and okay, well, and, they have that fucking luxury to do that, and that's why the product, the end result is so good. Mm-hmm. You don't have the time and luxury to do that. It's like you take your best fucking shot at it, you be as prepared as you can, mainly for the tracks that you're going to put down, and you spend the rest of the time trying to get the mix right, and that's about it, dude. That's all you got time for.
Yeah.
And what it is what it is. It's going to be probably pretty good. If you're very well prepared, it'll be pretty good. Will it be the best it could be? No. It will absolutely not be.
Right.
And don't fool yourself to think that it is, because it's not. I've been in the studio and I've recorded myself and other bands enough times to know it's just you got what you got, and you can't have these illusions of grandeur when you go into this thing. You'll end up being disappointed.
So speaking of Obituary, as an interesting example of this, another dimension to just the whole, I guess, evolution, the changes. I'll just say that. The changes that a band or a sound undergoes in the studio over the course of time. You know, those guys have... The guitar tone is so distinct. Trevor Perez's guitar sound is so distinct that the actual tone, the actual recording, the quality, the timbre that you're hearing.
And going into the incomplete, he had to have a good idea of what he wanted.
Dude, he had that from the very beginning.
Sure.
He had that from the very beginning, and even across albums, it sounds different, but you can still tell that's Obituary's guitar tone, which is, in my opinion, an amazing thing. Okay,
Yeah.
Because certain bands, I'm gonna let's see. Let me go ahead and see if I could cite some examples of bands that have managed to pull off something similar. Cannibal Corpse, not really. That shit varied a whole lot. But Morbid Angel.
Yeah.
Trey has actually been very consistent with his shit, album to album. You know, like I said, it's varied, but when you hear it, like, okay, yeah, that's exact thought. That's his shit. Dude, I want to say even Carcass, Pantera, extremely, very much so. Dude, I mean, he's had that fucking razor guitar tone. All throughout his lifetime.
Les Claypool.
Are you talking about the bass?
Yeah.
The bass tone? Well, I'm a guitarist, man. I'm going to be biased.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that because it's more, I guess that's more in how he plays. You know it's him. So maybe that's a bad example.
A certain band, Obituary is...
But how you play kind of dictate how you sound, too. I mean...
Yeah, that's true.
Like Stevie Ray Vaughan, you knew that fucking guitar tone. Every fucking lick he fucking played, you knew it was Stevie Ray. Jimi Hendrix was another one. Bass players, Tony Iommi. I mean, not Tony, Geezer Butler. Every fucking album, he had that kind of... He had kind of like a mid-range kind of, and like a slightly distorted kind of mid-range that kind of popped, you know? And, you knew that was him. And he had that sound throughout, you know?
So, that kind of makes me wonder...
Well, look, the fact
I know we're getting all
matter,
tangential here, but
I
whatever.
know, but I mean, the fact of the matter is, like, I wrote down Graveyard here because that's my example. Because, and like, because I really like that band, but they're okay. But I really fucking like this one album, His Engine Blues. Fucking think it's fabulous.
Now, that's the album, though.
Right.
The album.
They put out albums before this. They put out albums after this. Yeah. Nah. But I don't know what happened with that one fucking particular album. Was it the place that they went? Was it the studio that they went to? Was it the people that they worked with? The producer? Did they just fucking have a lot more money to throw at that than at previous in attempts afterwards? I don't know. And you're not going to know, but I don't know what it is. I'd like to know. But for some reason, everything just fell into place. And motherfucker, that album's great.
Somebody won the lottery on that one.
And then, albums after that were like, well, what the fuck happened here?
Yeah.
I want more of that shit.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, it's, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, that opens itself up to so much like individual interpretation. And, and I know there's going to be plenty of people who agree with you on that. I'm not a graveyard. I'm going to have to listen to more of it.
Yeah.
To be able to tell. And I guess, let's go ahead and point out, like, disclaimer, all of this is, obviously, subject to interpretation and, individual taste.
Extremely biased to our own point of views.
It's we just fucking did a top 40 list. That was. And
I got to show a little follow up about that.
Go ahead, but it was obviously like, it was based on our bias. We grew up together, and we had similar.
And when you think about it, when anybody makes a
together.
list, it's gonna be biased.
Sure.
I don't know how else you could make one and have it not. You either agree with it or you don't.
Well, you know what? There's a small subsection of the Inuit population who's never heard music before. And I'm going to poll them next week.
Yeah.
As I travel up to the North Pole. Anyway, what were you going to say about the top?
So, being and that's why we wanted to do the list at the time we did it, because, being at the threshold of a new year,
this turning point.
Yeah, people are going to be putting on a list. So Rolling Stones, Rolling Stones put out top 100 albums of. I don't remember if it's fucking metal albums or. I guess so.
All right.
I don't know.
Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah, I guess it's metal albums.
Rolling Stone Magazzine, as they say.
They put out a top 100. Well, of course, they have a lot more time and more resources than we do.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to roll back to, like, what is this, 15? Okay, 15, Diary of a Madman. Okay.
All right. Sure.
14 is Volume 4.
Okay, yes.
And
Sure. Totally.
13 is Iron Maiden, 1980.
All right.
That's the one with Killers on it, I think.
1980. I do not possess this album.
I think it's the one that didn't have Bruce Dickinson on it.
Which is
whatever.
Which doesn't make sense to my little ears, because there is no album that doesn't contain Bruce Dickinson.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. Okay.
12 was Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance. 11 was Ride the Lightning. And I'm sorry, I don't like that album. I think that album sucks. But look what comes in at number 10.
I listen to Ride the Lightning every once in a while, and it's got some decent tracks on it, but it's not my absolute favorite Metallica
Okay, I got
album.
one thing for you. Trapped Under Ice.
No, hold on then. Wait.
Screaming! Can't hear my calls.
No. Let me respond to that by saying the following. That is a good riff right there.
Yeah. All right.
Whatever. You know what? That didn't. That wasn't on our top 40.
No, it wasn't even close.
No.
All right. So, but look what makes a fucking offering at number 10. Pantera's fucking vulgar display of power. Well, kiss my ass. It made our top 10 too, buddy.
Well, no shit. That it absolutely did.
I'll
continue down this list because this is Rolling Stone magazine's assessment, I guess, of the whatever
Blizzard of Oz. Okay. Number 8, Megadeth, but not the one that we put. They put Peace Sells.
Okay. I will say, I listened the fuck out of Peace Sells.
I did too.
I listened to that album,
and it's
a lot.
P-Cells, who's buying? P-Cells, who's buying?
Dude, that fucking that riff, dan 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 bam 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 da 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 da. Dude,
I mean, I just
good shit on that album.
Yeah, it was
Really
a lot of
good
good shit on that album. I just didn't think it was a complete, full body of work. Anyway,
Again, this is their top
I
10.
liked,
of,
some songs on it, but so number 7 is Motorhead, No Remorse, and if I was going to pick a Motorhead album, and it was in the running for the list because I have the old. It was 1914 was the one. Number 8, Slayer, Rain and Blood.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting to see where
Which
we go.
also made our top 10.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Number 5, Black Sabbath. And
Okay,
that's the album that we were
That
talking
we identified
about.
as.
And that's we decided to roll Black Sabbath all into just Black Sabbath.
Pretty
Because
much.
we couldn't even pick a favorite Black Sabbath.
No, every album had its virtues.
Number 4, Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast. Did that crack the top 10? If
Hold
it
up.
didn't, it was very close. I want to say it did.
I don't think Number of the Beat. Wait,
No, Number of the Beast was on our list.
it was on our list.
Yeah, I don't
I
remember.
don't think it was top 10.
But it was pretty close. It was
Okay.
pretty close.
Okay.
So Judas Priest comes again at British Steel. Yeah. We just didn't pay much attention to that. Number 2, and I believe this was number 3 on our list, is Master Puppets.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you for putting another Metallica album ahead of Ride the Lightning. Now, I will still concede that Ride the Lightning is a decent album,
Yeah.
but Master of Puppets is far superior.
And number 1,
Okay.
and we did some talking about this,
Okay.
Black Sabbath, Paranoid.
Paranoid.
That's got all the songs on it. And
Right.
that one was actually number 2 on our list, I believe.
Yes.
Number 2, and pretty much all of Black Sabbath was just number 2.
Number 2. Okay. All
So,
right.
I mean, we're not that fucked up. I mean,
Well, all right. So this is Rolling Stone.
yeah.
Do they offer any insight into the criterion on which this is based?
Oh,
even with the less title. I mean,
I'm-
is this
I'm
best
sure they
albums of all
probably
time,
do.
or the catchiest metal
Paranoid
albums
is
of all time?
important because it's the blueprint for metal.
Okay, so is this the most important metal albums of all time? So that's the thing, I mean,
Right.
those defining
I
criteria
don't know.
are absolutely crucial if you're going to do a fucking list like this. Are you going to say this is the top 10 most influential albums, the most important albums, the most aesthetically pleasing albums to me personally? I mean, you can do so much. The most technical albums, you can fucking go on and on. If you're going to do a top 10, 20, 30, 40, list, but I mean, we were just like doing the best albums.
Yeah, and what
40
I
best.
really wanted
In
for
our
our
opinions.
list was it had to be a complete body of work, a complete album.
Right.
So a lot of things
Right.
that maybe should have
That
been
was-
on there that I liked a bunch of songs on didn't quite make the list because the album as a whole, and that was the whole thing for me for the list. It was the whole album. Like a motherfucking album you put on from beginning to end, you listen to the whole fucking thing.
It's like one
Because the
big,
whole-
long, amazing
Yes.
song.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's why Isis Oceanic was so high.
Which is why our number 1, which was Rust in Peace, would have beat, in my opinion, Peace Cells.
Sure.
Because Peace Cells
Right.
was not... It had some great songs, had some great riffs, but like start to finish, Rust in Peace was just a perfect.
It's why
it told a story.
It's why Peace Sells didn't even make the list.
Dude, I'm just gonna go ahead and fucking geek out.
And it's why nothing by Motorhead made the list. I like a lot of songs on 1916, but there's a lot of kind of turds on there too. And that's kind of a running theme with a lot of Motorhead albums. They got some really great songs, and they got some. So, that's why
Metallica, Master of Puppets. I can't remember where it was on our list. What number it was?
It was high. It was like 3 or 4.
Okay, good.
It was
because
high.
That is definitely an album that is repeatable start to finish.
I might even have
like,
a list somewhere.
oh, let me go ahead and say, I'm going to skip this track number 2 and 3 and just go at the 4. No, fuck you.
Yeah, you
Dude, but Rust in Peace is a masterpiece. Dude, I remember
and literally that whole thing, in the way it was put together and the way it just ran, it was like one big, huge, long song.
It was a story, dude.
It all went together. It was an album, and to me, and that's the whole point. When you're going to make an album, you don't just throw a bunch of songs in there. You have a reason for it, and it's a process on how you put the songs in, and you make it a whole body of work. And Rust in Peace was just fucking perfect at that.
There's some parts of that I think that are lost in this day and age. With kids today, the way they put their fucking music on their MP3 players and listen to them on random and blah, 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 blah. There's something to be said about like putting a CD start to finish, the way that the pauses, the way that the spaces are integrated into that. Because so, as far as a CD is concerned, a CD is pretty much a record album. Digitally speaking, I'm sorry, not digitally speaking, analogly speaking, start to finish can be constructed in such a way so that it plays in a very linear fashion. And let me put it to you this way. If you take...
I think I gave the list to you.
If you take Tool, not Enema, Undertow. Okay. And you play it on random, it's gonna completely fuck you up. It's not gonna make any sense. Like if it randomizes all because it does that thing where it goes through like tracks, whatever, 13 through 69, skips, and then when it gets to track 69, that's the hidden track, right? Mm-hmm. If you put it on random, it's gonna play several. It's not gonna make any sense. So the albums that we set and we put together on those on that list were deliberately put together in such a way so that, like, when you listen to Sepultura Arise, start to finish, it was meant to be Sepultura Arise. We listened to fucking Rust in Peace. Rust in Peace, start to finish, it was meant to be Rust in Peace. Master of Puppets, those fucking albums belong on
Oceanic.
The way that we did it for a fucking reason. Eat my shit. That is unarguable.
Yeah. No, I'm proud of our list. I think it's good.
Me too. I'm very satisfied with it. And the Rolling Stone, they put their shit together however they wish, you know. I mean, I noticed, like, fucking Ozzy wound up on the list a number of times. Okay, fair enough. Ozzy's great, you know. I mean, that's fine, you know. Blizzard of Oz, okay, whatever. What other album appeared on it?
Diary of a Madman.
Diary of a Madman. Okay, cool. I'm not particularly a fan of either of those albums, or even, you know, I don't think I own either of them. You know,
and Judas Priest was up there a couple of times, and
you know what? As far as my take on things, and I think you would probably. I presume to say so. If I was going to say what's the top metal album from Judas Priest, I'd put Painkiller.
Oh, sure.
Way above any of those.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
But again, that's a product of our times. You know,
Right.
we grew up when we grew up. You know,
Right.
we listened to the fucking, the heavy stuff like evolve in this particular niche. Oh, God. Dude, and the first time that I heard fucking Death with their cover of that on Sounds of Perseverance.
Well, it's just
that was amazing.
the fucking riff.
Excellent riff, dude. Excellent riff. Oh, fucking metal. So, you know what? Let's
And Tool didn't make our list at all because I really fucking like Tool.
you know what? I'm
I like a few Tool songs, but I just didn't. Tool never grabbed me by the boo boo like it did. But and it's kind of strange because and I know a lot of people like the fucking Melvins didn't get in. I never did get into the Melvins. Sorry.
Well, here's the thing about both of those bands. I can probably speak with more expertise about Tool because I've definitely owned several Tool albums in my life, and I've definitely tried to listen to them start to finish. Listening to a full Tool album from start to finish is like going to get your hair cut and realizing that you're having to have your hair cut done repeatedly 3, 4, 5, 6 times. It really is, dude. They put in these weird fillers. They put in these odd songs that don't cut the mustard. They put in, like... Dude, all right. All right, YouTube and denizens of the internet and the 3 or 4 people who are actually going to listen to this within my lifetime, hear me out, forgive me, and eat a bag of shit. All right. Tool is in it for the fucking money and the space and the fucking aesthetic, but as far as like the music goes, dude, I'm kind of with you in that you could probably take the 3 or 4 Tool albums that I've listened to and owned and compress it down into like maybe 3/4 of an album's worth of decent fucking music.
Yeah, well, I mean, and there was a Perfect Circle thing. There was a few songs there too.
I didn't even really listen to that.
And it just sounds more like Tool to me. Is all it was. Yeah. But I mean, what's that? Carey, the drummer.
Danny Carey.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Oh, he's great.
And the bass player's all right, and I liked a lot of things he did. But like, the guitar players, to me, I thought the guitar player's sound was always really thin and not very good.
Yeah,
and I don't know. And like, and here's one thing about Tool that always aggravated the shit out of me was Maynard's.
Yeah,
like his vocals were good, and I liked his style, and I liked the sound that he was doing because it wasn't typical of the time, and it was good. But it's like, and this had to be deliberate. It had to be deliberate by Tool for the way his vocals sat in the mixes and all of their shit. Because it's like, okay, I'm interested in Tool, maybe at one point in time, and I wanted to get into it, but I'm like, I always found myself like, what? Like, I couldn't hear what he was doing and what he was saying all the time, and it was so down in the mix. It's like I always had to, like, concentrate on trying to do, it's like, it's too hard to try, fuck it. Just, never mind. I just waste my time on something else that I can understand.
Dude, I remember on this show, I've described the mix of pretty much the majority of Tool as very scattered.
Yeah,
very.
It's a hard listen to me.
Spread apart.
It's a hard listen.
Everything seems very disconnected from one another.
Yeah.
And there's a good chance that a significant proportion of people who consider themselves Tool fans, I would consider them Tool disciples, are going to approach that comment and say, like, man, you just don't understand. Like,
well, right. Well, yeah, and that's fine, and I get that too, and because I've been through this early on in my musical career or whatever, if you want to call it, musical life. Like when Sepultura Rise.
Yeah.
You know, I loved that album so much, and I knew it back and front. I knew fucking everything about that album, and I just and it almost. And since we were playing music at the time, and we're in a band and writing our own stuff at the time, it almost thought it was like a fucking a plague or a curse that. Fuck, I can't just listen. I can't just sit back and just listen to music as a whole as it comes out the speakers because I got to pick it out. I got to pick out. It's like, what the fuck is Paulo doing? Oh, he's okay, he's that Ingy thing. All right, there he is. Okay, and you can just, to that album, you can just, Igor's kick drum was just a song in itself. Just as kick drum. It was an album in itself. All right, so so I recognized that fact very, very early on.
yes.
And try to counteract that. I'm like, all right, just fucking stop it, Troy, and I just want to listen to it as it comes out the speakers, and I'll do that with a lot of things. So I'm capable of doing that. It's not that I'm not capable of doing it.
Right.
I can hear Tool as it comes out the speakers to my ears.
Yes.
Not trying to pick out and single something out, but that was a great example. That the mix is just scattered to shit. And to me, it makes it a hard listen. And maybe that's why I never really got into Tool and sold into Tool. But like a lot of stuff they do is good, and I get a lot of the stuff they do, and I think it's cool that they do. What the fuck is that thing Joe said? What is it? The theory? The Pythagorean theory? Something.
I don't know, Fibonacci sequence.
The Fibonacci sequence, whatever. And that's cool, and that makes it a concept, and I like that stuff, and I like that stuff in music. But the fact of the matter is, no matter how much you want to do that, if it's a hard listen to me, I'm not going to get it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just I just the mix, the way they deliberately mix their stuff, I just don't like it.
Yeah.
End of story. Eat a bag of dicks.
And I'm going to go ahead and follow up on that and saying it really is about the mix, in my view, because like there is a degree of there's an absence of cohesion, I think, about their recordings,
which may be deliberate and it may be the thing. It's just not my thing.
Okay, so let me pull out of my ass an analog. There's a band from Seattle, thrash metal band, Forced Entry.
Okay.
Probably not a whole lot of people listen to that, to Forced Entry, all right? But it's a guitarist, it's a bass player, vocalist, and it's a three-piece, all right? They've got some pretty good songs that I really like, okay? This is a trio, okay? So you've got very simple... gosh, I don't think he even double track. Well, not necessarily didn't double track, but he didn't do a rhythm and then do a lead track over that. You know what I mean? Regardless of the number of tracks to convey a particular sound or instrument or line or whatever. You're talking about basically 3 dimensions of sound. Okay, vocals, drums, guitars. 4. Okay, vocals, drums, guitar, bass. This is 3-piece. All right, the recordings that I've heard, there's a muddiness, there's a blending together. Everything kind of went into the blender. You hit pulse a couple times, and there you go. All right, you've got this sound. All right, we're literally talking about the production of most Tool recordings, and everything is very much scattered in a way that the drums are so distinct, and the bass is so distinct, and the guitars is so distinct, and the vocals are so distinct that they almost seem alien to one another. And that, to me, doesn't contribute to an aesthetically pleasing thing going on. It's almost like four people, giving similar but still separate speeches going on at the same time. And while I may be able to understand the narratives of each individual speech, I'm not putting them together and creating something that is bigger than. In other words, there's not an effect of of the forest being greater than the trees.
Yeah, no, that's 10-4, good buddy. Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, fair enough.
That's exactly how I feel about Tool.
Hi, how you doing? It's 2020, and I think we might have to. You agree? You think so? I don't. Wait.
He's on the phone.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. No, not just Enema. Every Tool album. Every Tool album. Yeah. I'm serious, dude. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck you. All right. So, seriously, I think that pretty much seals everything that we've been saying and consolidates it as the truth. You can't argue with us. We are right, you are wrong. There's just no arguing. It's just that's it.
Thank God we put a nail in that coffin.
Yeah, fuck that. Yeah. And with that.
With that.
I'm gonna go ahead and suggest that we call this a podcast, but not without our best wishes to all who listen to us, because all two of you have been so supportive, in the 2.5 years,
we really
1.5 years that we've been doing this. Yeah, guys, seriously, Brian and Brandy, basically, thank you for being with us, every step of the way. This has been phenomenal, and we look forward to another 1.5, 2 years or something. I don't even know. Who's counting? Who fucking cares?
Why don't you cue the music there, Big Shoots?
If you have a suggestion as to what music will exit this, how about maybe some macabre?
There you go.
What's that smell? Did something die?
Jeffrey Dahmer's Apartment of Earl.
So, just seriously, just eat a bag of shit. This is our opinion, and but we love you.
Hey, give your nuts a tug and figure it out.
Yeah. So, hasta luego, hasta la vista, and hasta la hasta.
Bye. Later.